The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales would like to invite everyone to their newly renovated events hall, a beautiful 9,600 square foot facility that features a 5,500 square foot main hall and a separate 600 square foot conference room. Renters have access to our huge kitchen, large stage, tables, chairs, bar, and covered outdoor cooking. So plan your next wedding, party, conference, and more at The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
At the Team Automotive Group, we make it easy for you to buy here or sell here. Buy here and save on hundreds of certified and pre-owned vehicles. Or sell here while your vehicle is worth more than it ever has been and we'll pay you top value. Buy here or sell here at the Team Automotive Group.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hello and welcome as we start today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Here's hoping all is well with you and yours in your world. Since the last opportunity, we had to spend a little time with you and yours. Unless you have been totally out of the loop, all of Tiger Town and the college football world for that matter, paying attention to Baton Rouge once again as news broke and has now been confirmed by Louisiana State University that former Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly is the new head man for the LSU Tiger football program. Joining us to start today's show is a dear friend of the show, your co-host of Tigers Roar, Jonathan Poche. Jonathan, good morning, and how are you, sir?
CB, I'm doing just fine, my man. I appreciate you having me on the show today.
Hey, the pleasure's all mine. So let's start with the obvious. What do you make of the hire of Brian Kelly?
Well, in my opinion, it's a home run hire, CB. Not only is it a home run hire, it's a 3-run bomb in the bottom of the ninth. Athletic director Scott Woodward plays everything very close to the chest. Not a lot of leaks out of that administration, out of Scott Woodward's camp. A lot of names were floated out, obviously, to be the next head coach at LSU. Pretty much every elite name out there at one time was rumored to be the next guy. But then you saw the list start getting smaller and smaller with guys taking new contracts at their schools or taking other jobs.
Right.
And come to this past weekend, you're hoping LSU sends Coach Ed Ogeron off on a good note. They beat Texas A&M, and then the shift of the attention completely goes to Bedlam. You have Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State because you think, if Oklahoma loses, then the next day LSU is going to announce Lincoln Riley as their head coach.
Right.
Well, that happens. Oklahoma goes down. Lincoln Riley says in the post-game press conference that he's not going to be the next head coach at LSU. And then pretty much everybody around Baton Rouge starts to freak out. Is Scott Woodward scrambling now? Is he in panic mode? What's going on? Why haven't they announced the coach? Why would you fire Ed Ogeron in the middle of the season if you don't have a guy already lined up? There was a lot of panic over the weekend.
Right.
So then Monday comes around, and it starts to be said, by a couple of guys close to LSU, Justin Vincent being one, that LSU has their guy. They will announce later on in this week. It could be Tuesday or Wednesday, but LSU fans are going to be excited. And then news starts to leak last night around 6 o'clock that, look, there's a lot of smoke around the Brian Kelly story. And at this point in the whole situation, you're kind of hesitant to believe anything you read on Twitter or around social media because there's been so many names thrown out there.
Right.
Brian Kelly is the winningest active coach in NCAA football. He has more wins than Nick Saban, more wins than Mac Brown. The guy is a proven winner that has won everywhere he's been. He was at Notre Dame, rebuilt that program. It was an absolute joke for about 18 years there. But Notre Dame is the blue blood of blue blood programs. It's nationwide. They're not in a conference. They can recruit whoever they want across the board. But it's very tough to get players in there because of the academic restrictions.
Right.
You have to convince these young kids to go play in the cold. And you don't play against the powerhouses week in and week out like the SEC. So there are some limitations to recruiting to Notre Dame. But look, Brian Kelly has brought in top 20 recruiting classes every single year. Every once in a while he'll crack that top 10 number, but he's always been able to recruit heavies on the offensive and defensive side of the line of the ball. And a proven guy able to hire offensive and defensive coordinators. I think Brian Kelly brings a winning attitude and, more importantly, stability, CB. He brings stability to LSU at a time that this program desperately needs it.
The fact that allegedly it's reported that Brian Kelly did not give Notre Dame an opportunity to lodge a counter offer says what to you?
It shows that LSU is a top 5 job in the nation. Look, Notre Dame, a storied program. You go back, 40 years, and that is the national program that kids want to go play for. You have your local team on TV, then you have Notre Dame on TV. Look, kids my age and younger, they probably haven't even seen the movie Rudy, but there's a reason they made that movie with Notre Dame. That was the program. And for Brian Kelly to take the job without giving Notre Dame a chance for rebuttal, when he's a proven winner, he's taken that team to a BCS championship game. He's made the playoffs twice. Possibly going to make the playoffs again this season.
Right.
And for him to walk away before the playoffs start just shows the caliber of job and the caliber of athletes that LSU is able to bring in, not to mention the facilities, the administration, Scott Woodward. Scott Woodward, we know he's a phenomenal AD. He's brought Chris Peterson to Washington, Jimbo to A&M, Buzz Williams to A&M, Kim Mulkey to LSU, Jay Johnson from Arizona to LSU, and now he brings in Brian Kelly. There's a reason all these coaches want to work for a guy like Scott Woodward. He's an active recruiter. He cuts through red tape. He raises money. He gets everything that coaches need to be in a position to win. And not to mention, I said that Notre Dame is a nationwide recruiting job. That's a tough task. When you don't have a true backyard of talent, it's tough to go across the nation and talk to these parents and convince them to send their children up to Notre Dame. But Brian Kelly's never coached anywhere more south of Cincinnati.
Right.
So the recruiting question has come up. And there's also been a question of, is he a cultural fit? Look, Brian Kelly is a 60-year-old man that spicy food doesn't agree with.
Right.
But this guy's a proven winner. He's a businessman. He approaches every situation he's in like he's a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He's not the offensive guru that a lot of people want in Lincoln Riley or Lane Kiffin, but he is going to bring stability to this program, a proven winner, and to have that pipeline of Louisiana athletes right in his backyard. The caliber athlete that Brian Kelly is going to be able to get to LSU compared to what he had at Notre Dame is just going to hopefully break through that glass ceiling of getting this. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. This Hall of Fame football coach, that national championship that has eluded him for so long.
I heard a guy say this morning on a talk show that unless it's Jesus Christ himself or Nick Saban, there's going to be a percentage of the LSU faithful that are not okay with this hire. What are you hearing so far from the Tiger faithful about this hire?
Well, look, CB, if LSU would have hired Nick Saban as the head coach, Kirby Smart as the defensive coordinator, and Lincoln Riley as the offensive coordinator, that would still have been some LSU fans have been like, man, maybe we could have done better.
Right.
And there has been some of that, no doubt. Like I said, the cultural fit. Kelly is 60 years old. He's coming from a situation in Notre Dame that is very different than what we have here in Baton Rouge. The first time the band plays next and the student section starts screaming out, the song that they sing to that song, I'm not going to repeat it on your show, but it's going going to be a little bit of culture shock for Brian Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been some Tiger fans out there that, don't think that this is the quote-unquote sexy pick. But I'll tell you what, the situation LSU is in right now with all the dead money, the last two coaches that were fired were both big personalities, both cultural fits. I mean, you don't get a better cultural fit for LSU than Ed Ogeron was.
Right.
I mean, the guy exuded the culture, but both of those guys got fired. I mean, Ed Ogeron's on his way. He's done. He's not coming back. He's in Destin right now with his girlfriend, putting suntan lotion on her, catching some sun and some waves.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Kelly, in my opinion, is absolutely a home run hire. When you look at the big fish that were out there that were left, that Scott Woodward is known for getting, once Lincoln Riley took the USC job, the options were very limited, in my opinion. And look, through this whole coaching search, you didn't really hear the name Brian Kelly except for very early, like mid-October. It was one of the first names you heard. And then it kind of just disappeared. But then now that LSU has their man, you can start to solidify that 2022 class. Look, December 15th is the early sign-up period. You had to have a guy in here before that point to get the Walker Howards of the world on board. And speaking of Walker Howard, he has already come out and said, look, Brian Kelly is going to take us to national championships. He's excited. The draft class, the recruit class is going to get excited. The LSU fans need to be excited as well.
53 NFL draft picks from Notre Dame since 2012 when Brian Kelly arrived there, including 9 players taken in the first round. With the talent that's in Louisiana, it would seem like the sky would be the limit from this point on.
That's right. It's time for Brian Kelly to break through that glass ceiling. The championship has eluded him in his coaching career, but he's been a proven winner everywhere he's gone. Like I said, Notre Dame has been in the playoffs twice. They went to a BCS championship game. But, look, the SEC always kind of had Brian Kelly's number, and I do not believe that was a lack of preparation or game planning or X's and O's. It is just you get a different caliber of athlete in the SEC. There's a reason it's the best conference in the nation. Yes, they do have the highest paid, the most talented coaches, but the game is won by the players. I mean, the players are on the field making the plays, and if you can get the SEC caliber of player, of athlete on your team, that's when you start winning championships. And look, Colin Cowherd came out last night on Twitter, and he said, if you think that LSU is not going to compete for a national championship next season, you are kidding yourself, and I truly believe he's right.
Wow. When can folks catch you and my man Buddy Sanji on Tiger's Roar?
That's right. The Butt Man, Buddy Sanji, is my co-host on Tiger's Roar. We do it just about each and every Wednesday from Old School Barbecue, 10655 4th Boulevard. You can catch it on TV, 8 o'clock on Pelican Broadcasting. There are also some replays over the weekend. But don't forget, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. It's a great way to keep up with everything we do here at the Pelican. Clarence Bugs' show is up there, along with Rocket Wright, the Coach Roger Kadar show. Overtime with Southern Athletic Director Roman Banks is also on YouTube. So check us out. Tigers Roar, Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock.
As always, great stuff. Jonathan Poche, appreciate you as always, my man.
I certainly appreciate you, CB. I'm happy to do the first segment of your show because I'm trying to avoid being on that second segment on a Tuesday. Avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, and speaking of, Jonathan, thank you. When we come back, segment 2 of the Tuesday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. That's right, another edition of, now that's just stupid. That's next when we continue the Clarence Bug Show only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bolello's Furniture and Appliances. Your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. If you are new to the show, new to the station, new to the area, you may not be aware that in direct response to the ever-increasing level of stupidity in our country, we have instituted a new segment entitled, Now That's Just Stupid. Now, notice, we're not talking garden variety, everyday, run-of-the-mill, stupid, as in S-T-U-P-I-D. We're talking an entirely different level of stupid, hence the spelling S-T-O-O-P-I-D. We start this segment with what at one time was, and may well be, because I don't have any numbers to quantify it one way or the other in front of me, arguably the biggest seller of blue jeans in America. Levi Strauss is a name that has become so synonymous with American fashion. I can't think of anything, certainly in my lifetime, that would begin to approach that title. Levi Strauss, much to the chagrin of many conservatives in recent memory, has gone totally and completely left. I mean, woke does not begin to describe what Levi Strauss and Company has become. So recently, in the aftermath of the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, Levi Strauss sent out a notice to their employees offering a therapy session with a, quote, racial trauma specialist. Exactly. I don't know if you could hear that or not in the background. Amy just said, what the hell is that? A racial trauma specialist. So that they can learn, quote, trauma coping mechanisms. Here's the email. With the news that Kyle Rittenhouse was not convicted in the shooting of 3 individuals, 2 of whom lost their lives during racial justice protests, this is a difficult day for many. The pain and trauma of race, identity, and belief-based tragedies is a reality that many of us are struggling with on an ongoing basis. Oh, poor little snowflake. It can feel physically, mentally, and emotionally draining. to continue to relive these moments. And I want you to know it's okay not to be okay. Please also know that my team and I are here for you and working hard to create opportunities for you to express how you're feeling. To help promote safety, sharing, and to encourage healing, I'll be hosting a fireside chat with Q&A with Dr. Jamila Codrington, a licensed psychologist and, wait for it, racial trauma specialist in early December. Dr. J and I will talk about the mental and physical impacts of back-to-back social and racial justice events and trauma coping mechanisms during our discussion. Now, if you're like me, number one, you had absolutely no idea there was such a thing as a racial trauma specialist. Let me ask you something. How many of you actually know someone who authentically, not made up for media, not made up to impress coworkers, not as a tool to assuage your white guilt. How many of you actually know someone suffering from racial trauma? Authentic trauma. That's what I thought. But apparently the folks at Levi Strauss Clothing Company are a whole different breed of folk. You know what I found real interesting about this? And when you learn to read between lines, you find out what folks are really all about. The email also says the following. The methods listed include getting educated and informed on the issue of gun violence so you can be an active citizen in your community, and reaching out to your elected officials to let them know just how important common sense gun laws are to you. So we switched from racial trauma to gun control. Funny how the left kind of seems to always manage to slide that in. But you know what's ironic? This obviously is a ploy by left-leaning Levi Strauss to bring attention to an issue that is of concern to black people, even though in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, there were no black victims involved. But I digress. Apparently, Levi Strauss is so concerned about gun violence and, of course, their black employees that have been traumatized by the verdict. Can you tell me the last time you heard Levi Strauss come out and say anything about the gun violence in Chicago with all them black folk being killed? Have you heard any time in recent memory Levi Strauss holding a fireside chat with employees to talk about all the black people in Oakland, LA, St. Louis, Kansas City, New Orleans, Miami, New Jersey, Birmingham, Mobile, Baton Rouge? When's the last time you heard them talk about a gun agenda when it's black folk killing black folk? Oh, that's right, you haven't. You know why you haven't? Because they haven't. Read between the lines, people. Read between the lines. And obviously, Levi Strauss doesn't care. And at this point, will probably never change. But apparently, Levi Strauss is of the opinion, we don't want conservatives' money. Conservatives, y'all can go buy Lee jeans, which is a darn good one. Wrangler, another good one. American-made companies. Apparently, they're of the opinion, we don't want your money. Not if you believe in God and country, not if you believe in small government, and not if you believe in the right to self-defense. We don't want your money, and you don't need our genes. Well, you got the second part right, if nothing else. Finally, you can't make this stuff up. Did you notice last week, about a week and a half actually, the White House made a big to-do about releasing the results of President Joe Biden's physical, his annual physical. And of course, they made a big to-do about going in for the colonoscopy and going in to be checked out to be sure he is up to the job. And they came back and told us everything's fine. Well, with the exception of a little bit of a limp and a kind of a nagging cough. So recently, after this information was made available, the former White House physician for both Donald Trump and Barack Obama questioned, excuse me, could y'all tell us the results of the mental acumen exam? You know, where you ask him questions to see how his mind is functioning, how sharp he is, how he can recall things, how he handles things on the fly. We notice that's missing. Well, we didn't do that. Wait a minute. You performed a physical exam on the leader of the free world, and while he was there being examined, you didn't think it was a good idea for the guy who doesn't take questions, the guy who in the middle of a sentence might trail off and start talking about God knows what, the guy who in the middle of an answer will start whispering, and you didn't think it was a good idea to check his mental faculties? No, there's nothing to see here. He's fine. A little bit of a limp, a little bit of a nagging cough, but everything's fine. And this, my fellow Americans, is from the most transparent administration in history. Nah, you're not transparent. You stupid. But apparently you think we are too, because we didn't notice that you did your annual exam, but you left out the part about his mental faculties. Of course, now, if you had done that, then you were going to have to answer questions about it. Not only were you going to have to answer questions about it, you would probably have to answer as well as to why more than 50% of our fellow Americans think Joe Biden is not all there. Bottom of the hour break. Speaking of the Biden-Harris administration, a new level of incompetency that should scare the dickens out of you. That's next when we continue today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Sharing holiday cheers starts in the rewarding Mazda CX-30. Find yours during the season of inspiration.
You'll feel inspired this holiday season in a new CX-30 from Team Mazda on Airline.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Caught spiders. Premier Pest Services.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. You know, as a guy who considers himself a glass half full guy, I keep hoping, erroneously so, obviously, that at some point we will see common sense and intellectual promise from this current administration. After watching the debacle unfold at our southern border, after watching the embarrassingly horrific exit from Afghanistan, after watching Pete Buttigieg completely ignore the supply chain crisis after being on the job for 6 months and then taking off 2 freaking months in the midst of this problem plaguing our country. I keep saying, okay, this is rock bottom. This administration cannot screw up something affecting Americans' lives any more than they've already done. That's conventional wisdom. Past experience says just keep breathing. It won't be long. This administration will screw up something even worse than the crime problem, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the southern border, supply chain crisis, inflation. Just keep breathing. They're working on screwing something up even worse. Last week, in response to the pain that Americans are feeling at the pump, Congress called in the head of the Energy Department, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, wanting to know, what are y'all seeing? What are the problems? What's the plan to fix the problem at the pump? So she shows up, and they're giving her questions. She's giving answers. Blah, 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 blah. And then it happened. Jennifer Granholm was asked, how many barrels of oil every day do we use in America? How many barrels of oil does it take to run our country's economy? Her answer, I don't have that number in front of me right now. I'm sorry. Now, we know you're sorry, not from an apologetic standpoint. In the vernacular of the streets, you're sorry. In any equation having anything at all to do with supply and demand, it's a pretty simple formula. How much do we need? How much do we use every day? How much do we produce every day? And, notably, what is the plan to close the gap? If you don't know how much oil and gas we use every day, how in the hell do you expect to fix the problem? You are the energy secretary, and you don't know how many barrels of oil and gas we use a day? Oh, but it gets much worse. Shortly thereafter, the Biden administration holds a press conference to announce, we've been listening, we feel your pain, and we've got a plan to fix the prices at the pump. So today, we're announcing the largest ever tapping of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That is America's hedge against a disaster. We stockpile a certain amount of oil and gas, so if there's an emergency, we've got some backup. 50 million barrels, the largest tapping of this strategic reserve in the history of this country. But here's the problem. Jennifer Granholm, Energy Secretary, does not know how many barrels of oil we use a day. It's in the neighborhood of 18,000 and change, which means the whole press conference, all the posturing, the 50 million gallons, the largest we've ever done in history, is enough energy for, wait for it, 2 days and 8 hours. But that's going to fix the problem. 2 days and 8 hours worth of energy. So when the stock market saw, after awaiting this press conference, oh, they're going to get serious, they're going to get serious. You know what the stock market did, the price of oil? It went up 3.3% because speculators saw these clowns have no idea what they're doing. What they just announced, the 50 million barrels, the largest in history, is not going to do a darn thing. The freaking price went up 3.3%. So not only did you not do anything to fix the problem, you made the freaking problem worse. Oh, but it still gets better. It still gets better. I told you, just keep breathing. This freaking administration can't wait to screw up something else. Here's what they didn't tell you. The 50 million barrels, the largest tapping of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in the history of America, it's the same 50 million barrels that Donald Trump put in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. See, being the businessman that he is, last year in the middle of the pandemic, President Trump, the astute business person that he is, said, we're energy independent. This would be a great time while demand is low. This would be a great time to buy 50 million barrels and add it to our stockpile. The Democrats, Kamala Harris leading the charge, lost their freaking minds. I can't believe, Kamala Harris, in the midst of a pandemic, you thinking about oil and gas instead of people's lives. She went on and on. They savaged Donald Trump for having the foresight to buy 50 million barrels and put it aside for the American public. They call that man every ugly name in the book. You despicable, thinking about oil and gas while people's lives are at stake. And then they turn right around and hold up in front of you. Oh, we feel your pain. We're working on behalf of the American people. Look what we did, 50 million barrels. 2 days, 8 hours worth. And the same 50 million that they berated this man over, now they want to parade it around like they're actually doing something. Of course, now, if you still worship at the altar of the mainstream media, you wouldn't know any of this. Poor little ignorant self. You wouldn't know. But the administration is banking on that. They are banking on you being dumb as a box of rocks and swallowing whatever it is they're shoveling on that day of the week. Funny, isn't it? No, it's not. That was rhetorical. 50 million barrels, and you call that man every ugly name in the book. But now you want me to believe, oh, you got my best interest at heart, because look at you. You're putting 50 million barrels out there on the market. Not only is it not going to help, 2 days and 8 hours, but you made the freaking price go up. And yet, they want you to believe they got your best interest at heart. Wink, wink. Final break of today's show. We'll get her done, come back, put that big old pretty bow on this puppy, and wrap up today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats. The flavor says it all.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales would like to invite everyone to their newly renovated events hall, a beautiful 9,600 square foot facility that features a 5,500 square foot main hall and a separate 600 square foot conference room. Renters have access to our huge kitchen, large stage, tables, chairs, bar, and covered outdoor cooking. So plan your next wedding, party, conference, and more at the Post on Church Point Road, Gonzales.
Tremonti's has meat, Tremonti's has seafood, Tremonti's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters, huge wine and liquor selection, beer and all the spices you need, Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats, ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs, 20 flavors of sausage for the grill, daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tremonti's.com.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private Healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready, and health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Welcome back for the final segment of today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Unless, because of the holidays and everything surrounding that, you have been completely out of the loop. You may not know that we are watching the development of a new variant in the COVID-19 fight globally. The Omicron variant is the latest to be discovered. And of course, it's already started the media hype and the sensationalism and the whole nine. Let me encourage you with this more than anything else to do your own research, guys and girls. I'm sure if you are an individual that has taken the time to look at COVID coverage from all angles, you are well aware of the fact that there are some folks in media, and some in medicine for that matter, that will take liberties that are not theirs to take. The new variant, the Omicron variant, was first discovered in South Africa. And I found it interesting, an article I ran across over the weekend. Dr. Angelique Coetzee, I hope I'm not butchering her name too badly. Angelique Coetzee is the national chair of the South African Medical Association and is also one of the individuals that first discovered the new Omicron variant. She is called the travel ban. Speaking of the hypocrisy of the left, remember when Donald Trump was going to close air traffic to China's citizens, how he was called xenophobic and made fun of, et cetera, and already Joe Biden wants to ban travel from South Africa, but, you know, hypocrites that they are, that is what that is. But Dr. Coetzee says that the travel ban, number one, is hasty because we don't yet know enough about it. But in line with where we started this segment, she goes on to say, telling Reuters news service on Sunday, quote, that the hype that's been concocted about this variant is not warranted. She relayed in this interview with Reuters that in one of the biggest hospitals in South Africa, only one COVID patient is on a ventilator, and it hasn't yet been confirmed that it's the Omicron variant. Quote, the hype that's been created currently out there in the media and worldwide does not correlate with the clinical picture, and it doesn't warrant to just cut us off from any traveling and bans South Africa as if we're the villains in the whole process. It shouldn't be like this. Now, you are the only one that is privy, well, maybe family and very close loved ones, to your medical history, and more important, what your existing comorbidities may be. You've heard me say before that it is my sincere hope that the next time, God forbid, we find ourselves dealing with something global of this magnitude, COVID-19, that we will use a much more nuanced and common sense approach, as in, instead of shutting down economies all around the world, and more specifically in this country, figure out who's most at risk and implement measures to protect them. See, the media will have you focusing only on death numbers. Never once will they tell you, well, this segment had such severe existing comorbidities. If they caught COVID, it was pretty much a death sentence. They won't tell you that. They also will downplay at every opportunity the survivability rate. When all geographic demographics show that unless you are 80 or older, you've got a 97+% chance if you catch COVID, you'll get over it. Not only that, the overwhelming majority of people that do catch it will never even know they had it. And yet, we refuse, well, they, the medical community, refuses to focus on natural immunity. They refuse to give Americans and now citizens worldwide the opportunity to make the decision for themselves. That's supposed to tell y'all something, folks. Listen, I get full well people in government justify their existence by attempting to get you to believe they are the only ones out there that can save you from, you fill in the blank here. We saw it with prohibition. We saw it with the war on poverty. We saw it with the war on drugs. We saw it with the war on crime. Did we win any of those, quote, wars? Now you're starting to get the picture. God forbid if we ever find ourselves in this situation again, cooler, more rational, more common sense thinking people will be in charge. Whoop, that rules out Anthony Fauci. Oh well, thanks for playing, Doc. Only time will tell what's going to come from the Omicron variant. Forgive me. At the end of the day, It is, it should, and hopefully always will be a classic case of the American citizenry continue to enjoy the freedom to make decisions that affect them for themselves. Anything else, my friends, is un-American. 10655 Coursey Boulevard. Old School Barbecue is where we tape the show live every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you never know when you walk through the door who you might see. Uncle Roy Fletcher, Fletch Nation, he and Kevin Gallagher produce their show here on Wednesday. Of course, Rocket Right Radio records their show here as well. And the Roger Cador Show. We'll be taping that live in just a matter of minutes, as a matter of fact. So you never know who you're going to meet. Now, I can tell you without any hesitation or reservation, I don't know who you're going to see when you walk through the door, but I know what you're going to get. Great food, served by great folks in a great atmosphere. Now, if you are one of those individuals that feels, man, as hard as I work for my money, I deserve to have a good meal for lunch or dinner. I deserve to have it served by knowledgeable, friendly people. And I deserve to eat my food in a nice atmosphere. Now, if you get 2 out of 3, if it were baseball, that puts you in the Hall of Fame. But this ain't baseball, y'all. This is South Louisiana, and this is food. And maybe you're one of those, I don't want to speak for you, maybe you're one of those that you can live with 2 out of 3. Maybe you're one of those that you can live with 1 out of 3. Well, Clarence, if 33%, man, that'd get me in the Hall of Fame. If that's what you want to settle for, have at it. In the vernacular of the streets, I ain't mad at you, bruh. But if you feel like you're worth more, 10655 Coursey Boulevard. Old School Barbecue is the place you want to be. And on top of all of that, if all of that weren't enough to get you to come out, you get to meet Marty. Now, what else could you ask for? What else could you ask for? That's why old Peter shows up every Tuesday, right about this time of the day, because he wants to hang out with Marty. That being said, y'all, my time's up, and I got to go. But this day, maybe more so than any other, I give it to you. You know what? You're right. America, we are not perfect. But for this old boy's money, it's the best there is. And God knows there's no place else on his green earth that I'd rather be. Speaking of the good Lord, you realize he loves you, right? And I hope you know that I do too. Either way, ain't a doggone thing you can do about either one. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.